Hi, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching and for subscribing. And if you're just visiting, please consider subscribing. So you know that I don't do single perfume reviews very often on my channel. This only happens when sort of special fragrances are released. And I had to do a video like that here, although it won't be about one perfume. It will be about two releases that came out at the same time. Two releases that I was very, very excited about because they're coming from my favorite fragrance house, the house of Xerjoff. And these are the two fragrances that came out as a collaboration between Xerjoff and Duran Duran. You know that their previous collaboration was with Tony Iommi. You know, the original Monkey Special is my #1 perfume in my entire 200 bottle collection. I also really love the second release, Defied. Yeah, it is actually my husband's #1 perfume in my collection, but I really enjoy it as well. And so when this new collaboration came out, I was super, super excited. I knew I absolutely had to try these fragrances. I had to see what they were about. So there are two that came out. One of them is Neo Rio. I heard about this one first. I mean, it comes out. I'm going to put some pictures on the screen. But this one came out in 4 gorgeous bottles, very colorful, very bright bottles. When I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, I need to have this just for the bottle. Of course, that's not what I'm going to do, but I think the bottles are gorgeous. And then we have the second release, Black Moonlight. You know, the bottle looks more ordinary, let's say, but it's not about the bottle. It's about the fragrance, of course. And so I got samples of both of these fragrances. Here I have a sample of Black Moonlight and I have a sample of Neo Rio. I mean, even the sample box looks amazing, very, very colorful. So let's talk about these. Are they amazing? Are they as great as Tony Iommi collaboration was? What are these fragrances about? Do I like them? Do I think they're full bottle worthy? And will I be purchasing any of these? Or maybe I have purchased full bottles already. Let's talk about all of this. Now, I want to start with Black Moonlight just because I was a little bit more excited about Neo Rio. I kind of felt like, you know, if I was going to really fall in love with one of these, it was going to be that one. So let's leave that one until the end. And like I said, let's start with Black Moonlight. So let's look at the notes as we always do with new fragrances. We have cardamom, saffron, mandarin, bergamot, myrrh, jasmine, lavender, ylang ylang, tolu balsam, labdanum, tonka bean, and patchouli. So, you know, when I looked at the notes, I didn't really know what to think about it. If I base it on the notes, my guess was that it would not be a fragrance for me, that it would most likely be very masculine scent. But then again, you know, when I originally looked at the notes of both Tony Iommi's, I also didn't think they were for me. So, you know, I take notes with a grain of salt. So what does this one smell like? Well, I'm going to compare it right away because I think it is quite similar to something else. That something else is the second release of the Tony Iommi collaboration, the Defied version. I actually find these fragrances quite similar. Both are on a more masculine side, definitely. Now, this one, what I find similar is patchouli. Both of these fragrances have very defined note of patchouli and it is very present here as well. What I also feel like I get here is actually some leather. There is no leather listed in the notes, but I feel like I get some leather Perhaps it is the saffron, because saffron can come off leathery. So maybe it's saffron that I'm getting, but I feel like it's leather. Then I do get the smoky elements, like the labdanum and maybe some spiciness, kind of smoky spiciness from cardamom. And what else? Maybe tolu balsam and myrrh. Like it has that kind of resinous touches as well. Now florals, not really. I don't really get florals like jasmine, lavender, ylang ylang. I don't get any of that. Just like I don't get a lot of freshness like citruses, mandarin, bergamot, not a lot. To me, it is mostly patchouli with leather, with some kind of resinous, smoky touches, with a little bit of spiciness from cardamom. So it has its own nuances, but when I think about this scent overall, it does remind me a lot of the Tony Iommi Defied. Like I said, there are definitely some differences, but the overall feel is very similar. So in my opinion, if you have one, I don't think you need the other. And if you know that you like one of them, then you're most likely going to like the other one. For me personally, because I already have the Defied version, I'm definitely not interested in this one because to me, they are extremely, extremely similar. Is it a well put together scent? Yes, but I think it is too similar to the one that they already have, the one that came out not that long ago. So for me, Black Moonlight is a no. Next, let's go to the one that I was super, super excited about. Again, I'm going to show you the sample because it's gorgeous. And that is Neo Rio. Now, the notes here look a lot more appealing to me. So we have rum, fig, labdanum, elemi, maple sap, rose oil, saffron, pearl balsam, tonka bean, and patchouli. I am very intrigued by these notes. I don't know exactly in which direction they're going to go. Let's see. All right, so what I will say with this one right away is that it smells quite different for me on the blotter versus skin. It comes off quite differently. So with this one, now sometimes, there is a big difference when you spray fragrances. Sometimes they smell exactly the same. For this particular fragrance, I feel like it smells quite different. So when I originally, and this is how I test, I spray, when I get a new sample or fragrance, I spray it on a blotter first, because if it's really off-putting for me, I don't want to put it on my skin, If I get interested in some way, then it goes on my skin. So when I sprayed this one on the blotter, it smelled, the note that I got right away, and the note that was absolutely the strongest to me is maple, maple sap in here, but maple syrup. Basically, it smelled like maple syrup. Now, there were a few other nuances. I could get a little bit of booziness from rum. I was getting a little bit of fig, maybe a touch of elemi, a little bit of patchouli. Yes, some small elements in the background. But the strongest, by far, the strongest note that I was getting was maple syrup. I'm going to call it maple syrup because that's what I was getting. Now, then I thought, okay, it's definitely not what I was expecting. For some reason, based on the notes, and even more, I think, based on how the bottles look, they look so bright, so vibrant, so juicy, if I could say that, I was expecting the fragrance to be like that too. I was expecting it to be super, super bright and delicious and fruity and juicy. I don't know. That's just what I expected. And this fragrance is definitely not that at all. So it definitely took me by surprise, but I was intrigued by the scent. And so I thought, okay, let's test it on my skin. I also tested it on my husband's skin. This is what I get on the skin. So maple syrup is still there. Definitely there, but it's not the only thing there. I find this fragrance a lot more balanced on the skin because, you know, all of these other elements that I mentioned, they're equally balanced. It's not like maple syrup, you know, overshadows everything else. No, everything is there mixing together. So you have the maple sap, you have the fruitiness from the fig, you have the booziness from the rum, you have some patchouli, you have some kind of, again, a little resinous kind of touches like elemi, pearl balsam, you know, things like that. Now, again, there are florals. Well, there's rose oil in here, so I don't know. No rose. I do not get any rose. And saffron in here. You know how in the first one, Black Moonlight, saffron was giving off like leathery vibes? I definitely don't get it here. No leather in this one. In fact, like I barely get anything from saffron, I feel like. But, you know, a lot of the other elements are here. So that's the opening. Now, very interesting thing happened for me in a dry down, and it happened on my skin, and the same thing happened on my husband's skin. I did not get that on the blotter, but on the skin for both of us, we had the same type of dry down. And then in the dry down, it felt like coffee came out. To me, I would have bet on it if I didn't see the notes, that there was a note of coffee in here. I felt coffee so strongly. And it's not just coffee, it's more like espresso. It's like I had espresso with some either maple syrup or maybe caramel added to it. So it's really strong coffee espresso, although it's not overpowering, but I feel like it's really espresso, like it's really black. There is no like milk or cream in it. And then you have the sweetness from maple sap or maple syrup, or perhaps even mixing with some caramel. And that's really what I get in the dry down of this fragrance. Perhaps this is just my experience. I don't know, but I strongly got that. Even interesting, you know, I was testing it on my skin during the day, and then my daughter came home from school and I let her smell and I said, what do you think? She said, oh, okay, this is nice. You know, these kinds of smells are not her favorite. But I said, okay, what do you smell? Because, you know, she's able to distinguish some notes now. And she smelled it again. She said, I smell coffee. So, you know, without me saying anything, she also got coffee in this. And really, I get a lot of coffee, even though there are no coffee notes in here. So there you go. That's what I get. You know, in the opening, I get maple syrup and some rum and some fig and some patchouli and elemi. You know, all basically majority of the notes that are listed are kind of mixing together. And then in the dry down, it becomes similar to like espresso with some caramel and maple syrup. That's what it smells like. Now, does it smell good? Yes, it does. It does smell really good. Is it completely different from what I expected? Yes, it's completely 100% different from what I expected. Again, I expected the scent to be much brighter, much lighter, much juicier, a lot more summery, let's say. What I would also say, again, this is just my opinion, and this is really not a very important point, but again, it's something that I thought of, you know? Again, I felt like, and I will keep comparing it to Tony Iommi because this is kind of my golden standard of collaborations for me, you know? And I feel like there was such harmony in that collaboration. And what I mean is everything made sense, you know? The artists they were collaborating with, the way the bottle looked, the way that perfumes smelled, it all went together. It all made sense. It all seemed to fit perfectly together. I don't feel that way with this collaboration. And specifically, I feel like the scent, in my mind, does not fit together with these bright, bright, vibrant bottles, because that's not how the fragrance comes off to me. Like, instead of being a summery scent, I actually think this is a lot more of a fall and winter type of scent, you know, but the bottles say the opposite. That's how I view things. You know, you might completely disagree. You might view these things completely differently. That's totally okay. I'm just sharing with you my opinion. So I don't feel like they really thought of every element. Like, perhaps the bottles make sense for the collaboration with Duran Duran, but I don't feel like they make sense with the type of scent that they came out with, you know? So that's just a little point. But overall, the scent is completely unexpected. Not what I expected at all. It is completely different. Do I like it? Yes. Is it on par with, again, my golden standard, you know, Monkey Special? No, it's not. It's not going to beat that fragrance. It's not going to get to that level. But is it the fragrance that I really like? Yes. Is it the fragrance that I want to have in my collection? I am 90% sure yes. I still, you know, as I've mentioned many times before, I'm a lot more cautious about what I bring into my collection. So, you know, I do want to test this a little bit more. But again, because I'm slightly impartial to the house of Xerjoff, you know, like I said, I would say 90% yes, I will bring this fragrance into my collection. Not right now. I'm not in a rush. I definitely am not going to purchase from Xerjoff and pay insane amount of money, not just for the perfume, but for shipping, duties, taxes, blah, 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 blah. No, I'm going to wait until it comes to the gray market and I'm going to purchase it from there. But most likely, yes, I will add a bottle of this one to my collection because yes, I really, really like it. And because, yes, I'm a little bit impartial to Xerjoff. So there you go. These are my thoughts on these two new releases. Definitely interesting, definitely unexpected. This release, both of these do not beat the Tony Iommi collaboration. I still say no, that one is a level higher than this one, but this one is still interesting. So please share with me, you know, have you heard about this collaboration? Are you interested in it at all? Or if you have tried any of these, please share with me your thoughts on these fragrances. For now, that's it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to give me a thumbs up, to subscribe, and to comment. And I will see you soon in the next one. Bye.